morning. I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Thursday, the 5th of February, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Senate President Tito Soto has confirmed he is exploring a term sharing agreement with Senator Loren Legarda following recent efforts to unseat him. Soto said that while the majority bloc successfully blocked a leadership change this week, he plans for Legarda to assume the presidency before the 20th Congress ends. The bid to impeach President Bongbong Marcos is officially dead. That's after the House Justice Panel voted overwhelmingly against the sufficiency of the complaints. The decision effectively bars any further impeachment proceedings against the president for at least 1 year. And the House of Representatives has voted to suspend Cavite Congressman Kiko Barzaga for another 60 days. The ethics panel cited repeated and escalating misconduct during his first suspension, stripping him of his salary and benefits for the next 2 months. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. And now first on the agenda, talks of power sharing at the Senate are making waves as Senate President Tito Soto confirms moves to reshuffle leadership were discussed. Here's the report.
It was Senate President Tito Soto himself who confirmed that there was once again an attempt to replace him as leader of the Senate. But Soto said the move was blocked by his colleagues in the majority. Soto said he was not concerned despite rumors circulating yesterday afternoon that he could be replaced as Senate President. He added that he is ready to take on whatever role his fellow senators may give him.
Wala, nakakatuan lang namin.
Pero may attempt pa talaga, sir, na magpalit ng leadership?
Well, better ask them. Better ask them. Wala akong alam. I can do any work in the Senate. I can be majority leader, minority leader, Senate President, or even a regular senator. I have no problem with that.
The name of Senator Loren Legarda has once again surfaced as a possible replacement for Soto. Legarda served as presiding officer and took the rostrum when the session resumed after the afternoon break. Earlier, Senator Mig Zubiri even joked about it, addressing Senator Legarda as Madam President.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Madam President, nice to see you on the yes, session resumed already, right, Madam President?
Yes, session is resumed.
Soto said they were simply having fun. But he also confirmed that there are plans for Legarda to sit as Senate President before the end of the 20th Congress. This was Soto's response when asked about the reported term-sharing arrangement in the Senate presidency. Earlier, Senator Kiko Pangilinan posted a photo with several members of the majority bloc, including Legarda with a caption, "Power Sharing." After the session, the senator even posed for a group photo. According to Senator Zubiri, the Senate majority remains strong and united.
Meantime, the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms under the leadership of Senator Risa Ontiveros has begun deliberating on 6 versions of the anti-political dynasty bill. The key sticking point remains the scope of the proposed ban. Even constitutional experts are divided on how far the measure should extend. Meanwhile, some senators from prominent political families have signaled openness to the proposal. They agree that limits should be set on the number of government posts one family can hold simultaneously.
The question is national. I think some people may find it objectionable to include that, because essentially when we say national, you're really talking about senators. So we have to take a good look at that, whether 24 seats in the Senate should be covered by the prohibitions.
The public office is not a family inheritance. It is a public trust. The intent of an anti-political dynasty law is not to single out families, but to strengthen our democracy, leveling the playing field, and ensuring that leadership remains open to merit, competence, and genuine service, rather than name or lineage.
Now in other news, President Bongbong Marcos welcomed the dismissal of the impeachment complaints against him after the House Committee on Justice declared them insufficient in substance. Here's a report.
The House Committee on Justice has dismissed both impeachment complaints filed against President Bongbong Marcos, ruling them insufficient in substance. The first complaint, filed by lawyer Andre De Jesus, was rejected after 42 committee members voted to declare it insufficient, with 1 opposed and 3 abstaining.
The impeachment complaint of De Jesus, insufficient in substance.
The committee also junked the second complaint filed by the Group Bayan and endorsed by the Makabayan Bloc. A motion by Caloocan City Representative Egay Erice to declare the complaint sufficient failed to gain support, with only 7 members supporting it and 39 opposed.
The chair declares the Masa et al. Impeachment complaint insufficient in substance.
The Makabayan Bloc expressed disappointment over the outcome, claiming the process was rushed and that some congressmen acted as the president's lawyer.
Napakahusay na pagpaliwanag po ng ibang mga kasamahan natin, katulad ni Congressman Erice, ni Congresswoman Laila de Lima, Congressman Chel Jokno. Malinaw na sa batayan na yan ay sufficient in substance ang complaint at dapat tumuloy sa susunod na yugto. So malinaw po, mukhang desidido talaga ang komite na patayin na sa yugtong ito pa lamang ang complaint.
Committee leadership defended the process, saying no railroading occurred. They noted the review period was sufficient and emphasized that impeachment cases must rely on personal knowledge or authentic records, standards these filing did not meet.
Hindi naman po pag-aabogado sa presidente, bagkos pagbibigay po ng opinyon ng bawat isa. So hindi mo naman maaalis sa mga abogado na mambabatas na ipaliwanag kung paano tignan yung mga pagtanggap ng ebidensya.
Despite the committee's dismissal, the plenary must still approve the panel's report on Monday, February 9. 1/3 of House members, or 106 votes, would be required to dismiss the impeachment complaints entirely.
I cannot still say it's dead because there's still a proceeding that will happen in the plenary.
Meantime, Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro said the President welcomed the committee's decision, stressing that due process was followed and that lawmakers were able to determine the facts.
Natuwa po siya. Ang sabi nga po niya ay nasunod ang proseso at yun naman din po ang gusto ng Pangulo. Masunod ang proseso at makita ang katotohanan.
In an interview with The Big Story, ACT Teacher Party List Representative Antonio Tino said the House Committee on Justice acted prematurely. He stressed that the panel was wrong when it asked for evidence on the grounds of impeachment.
Mali po ang intindi at ang ginawa ng komite rito, no? Ang sinasabi, hindi raw napatunayan ng mga complainant at endorser ang aligasyon na may impeachable offense ang Pangulo. Wala raw ebidensya, hindi sapat ang ebidensya, and so on and so forth.
Representative Benny Abante meanwhile told sa Totoo Lang that the impeachment of Marcos is as good as dead.
Binasura ng komite, good as dead yan.
Yeah, okay.
So, ibig sabihin?
Maaring the only thing that the plenary can do is we will submit to the plenary for a plenary vote. Ano? Kung mangyari man yung plenary vote na yan, hindi na mananalo yan. Wala na. It's good as dead.
Meantime, President Bongbong Marcos's net satisfaction rating is hardly moving, according to the social weather stations. In the fourth quarter poll of SWS, approval over the president's performance remains in the red at -3, just slightly up from -5 in the third quarter. And that's classified in the SWS chart as neutral. 40% of Filipinos polled said they are satisfied with him, up by 1 point, while 43% expressed dissatisfaction, also down by a point. Undecided respondents were unchanged at 17%. The chief executive's net satisfaction ratings rose in Balance Luzon and Visayas, but tumbled by 15 points in Metro Manila from -2% to -17. And his ratings in Mindanao stayed at -28%. The SWS survey was conducted among 1,200 respondents from November 24 to 30. And coming right up, Manila 3rd District Representative Attorney Joel Chua, a member of the House Justice Panel, joins us to discuss the committee's decision to dismiss the impeachment complaints against President Marcos for lack of substance and form. Don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. As we know, the House Committee on Justice has already dismissed the 2 impeachment complaints against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. The panel ruled that both failed to meet the constitutional requirement of sufficiency in substance. Committee Chair Congresswoman Jervil Luistro said members voted based on conscience, facts, and the interests of the Filipino people. Both complaints accused the president of constitutional violations, but lawmakers said the allegations were speculative and unsupported by evidence. And joining us this morning is Representative Joel Chua, Manila 3rd District Representative, to help us weigh in on all these developments. Good morning, Congressman. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Hi, good morning, Pawi, and good morning to all your televiewers.
Okay, so yesterday, napanood naman po natin lahat, Congressman, na-dismiss na ang 2 impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos. But I wanted to ask you personally first, Congressman, wala po ba talagang kahit anong allegation or ground that met the sufficiency in substance?
Well, unang-una, Pawi, we should look at the guidelines set by the rules, by the House rules. Nandito po yung nakalagay po dito, how to determine sufficiency in substance. Sabi po dito, the requirement of substance is met if there is a recital of facts constituting the offense charge. Now, if we will read Section 3 of the same rules, sabi po dito, an impeachment complaint is verified by an affidavit that the complainant has read the complaint and that the allegations therein are true and correct of his personal knowledge or based on authentic record. So meaning to say, the recital of facts, the offense charge must be based on number one, his personal knowledge, or number two, based on authentic records. So let us check all the allegations charged against the president. Yung unang-una po, sabi po nila that the president established the so-called baseline balance management parametric formula. And according
BPM
to
formula.
them, ito po yung naging basis, kaya po in-institutionalize yung systematic scheme of corruption. Well, obviously, ito pong allegation po nila is purely speculative dahil wala naman po silang in-attach dito na basis para paano po nila masasabi na ito pong formula to ginamit para po dito gamitin to for systematic scheme of corruption. Yung number 2 allegations po nila, yung unprogrammed appropriation, again, if you will check the chart, sabi po nila that the president betrayed public trust by abusing his constitutional and statutory discretion. So dito po ina-admit naman po nila na this unprogrammed appropriation, the sole authority to release the unprogrammed appropriation is based on statute and based on our constitution. So ibig sabihin, prerogative po yan ng ating Pangulo. So dito po kasi mag-a-apply po yung tinatawag nating doctrine of operative facts. Ano po yung doctrine of operative facts? Hindi po niya po pwedeng panagutin ng isang bagay na hindi pa naman po ito krimen. And for now, hindi pa naman po sinasabi ng ating korte o kahit na anong batas na ito pong unprogrammed appropriation ay unconstitutional or illegal. Because if that is the case, then lahat po ng mga naging presidente, dahil since 1989, lahat po ng administrasyon, meron pong unprogrammed appropriation. And in fact, during the time of former President Pinoy, if you will remember, the Supreme Court even declared the DAP as unconstitutional. But hindi po ibig sabihin na dineklara yung DAP na unconstitutional. Ibig sabihin po nun, may betrayal of public trust na yung dating presidente. Dahil during that time when DAP was implemented, hindi pa naman po ito illegal. Now, dito po sa pangatlo, meron po silang sinasabi dito, direct personal involvement in budgetary insertion in kickback. Tatlo po dito yung kanilang ginamit na direct evidence. Number one, yung kay Cabral Files. Obviously, the only way or the only person who can authenticate the Cabral Files is Yusek Cabral herself. Hindi na po mangyayari yun dahil patay na po. Pangalawa, yung testimony po ni Yusek Bernardo. Si Yusek Bernardo po, wala naman po sa kanyang testimony na sinasabi niya na nakapag-deliver siya ng pera directly to the president. Pangatlo, dito po sa Saldico confession again. Dito po, maliwanag naman po sa aming rules na kailangan it has to be meron pong personal knowledge at authentic record. Obviously, yung video record po ni Congressman Saldico is not authenticated at wala naman po sila sinubmit na affidavit. So, affidavit from Saldico. So, without all this, hindi po ito papasa sa tinatawag po natin sufficiency in substance.
So what should the complainants have done, Congressman? Kasi baka naman hindi rin nila alam na ganito ka masalimuot yung proseso even in determining sufficiency in substance. Because doon nga sa rules, naka-state po personal knowledge and authentic records. But apparently, for the committee, it doesn't meet those standards. I understand, kaya rin po grabe yung pag-scrutinize. Tama po ba, Kong? Kasi kayo rin, in the end, ang magiging prosecutors ng impeachment complaint if ever this goes to trial sa Senado. Kaya po ba ganoon kataas yung threshold ng hinahanap nyo pong mga recital of facts?
Hindi naman po ganun kataas yung hinahanap namin because that is what is under the rules of impeachment. House rules po yan eh. And this House rules was not, hindi naman po yung kahapon lang ginawa. Ito po yung we are guided by this House rules since time immemorial. Kaya ito lamang po ay binabase lamang po namin sa determination ng sufficiency in form and substance. Now, I would like to compare this to the previous impeachment complaint that we filed against the Vice President, if you will allow me. Kung titingnan po natin yung dati, yung pinail po namin, bakit po natin sasabihin sufficient in form and sufficient in substance? For one, kung makikita po ninyo, yung mga sinubmit po doon, may mga authentic document po yun coming from the COA. May mga report po yun galing from the COA. May mga dokumento po na naka-attach po doon na authenticated. At may mga personal knowledge, like for example po, yung threat po niya, lahat naman po tayo nakasaksi po nito. So, yung po makikita po natin, doon po talaga pumapasok dito po sa sinasabi natin na may personal knowledge and based on authentic records.
But do you agree, Congressman, na siguro pwedeng magdagdag na lang ng provision sa rules explaining what counts as authentic records, personal knowledge, para mas maging specific, para hindi na rin nagsasayang ng oras yung mga complainant in preparing their impeachment complaints?
Well, maliwanag naman eh. Hindi naman kailangan ng idagdag pa sa rules eh. Dahil ang linaw-linaw, nandito naman po sa Section 3 namin po yan eh. In fact, alam po ninyo, the reason why we have to do this, why we have to scrutinize this, because to prevent dragging impeachment complaint na sa dulo naman pala, wala rin naman palang kahihinatnan. Look, these are all high-ranking government officials. Could you imagine dragging the impeachment complaint of the President, pahahabain po natin? Ano po mangyayari niyan? Ano po magiging epekto niyan? That is bad for our economy. That will affect the economy of our country. Sino po bang mamumuhunan ang gustong maglagak ng kanilang investment dito kung ang ating bansa po ay magulo?
Okay, pero sinabi po ni Congresswoman Jerve Luistro that the complaints are technically not dead yet since the committee report will need to go to plenary, but this could still be overridden by a one-third vote. Pero kayo po ba, Congressman, do you still see this getting reversed in plenary, o this is practically dead in the water?
Well, matagal pa, mahirap pong mag-conclude because we have more than 300 congressmen. So right now, ang mga bumoto lamang po dito, mga nasa more than 40. So that is not even one-third. But the way I see it and the way we discuss it during the committee hearing, lahat naman po, everyone of us, we were given the opportunity to air our our legal point of view. So, tingin ko naman po, kung nakikinig po sila, if they will be listening intently sa naging debate doon sa committee hearing, sa discussion po doon, I think they will be convinced that there is lacking in there is sufficient in form but lacks in substance.
Okay, so now let's shift to the forthcoming impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte. Kung Joel, ano po ba ang latest status noon?
Well, for now, wala pa po kaming official invitation from the Committee on Justice dahil hindi pa po yata na i-refer because I think there is a different version from the first decision of the Supreme Court to the second decision of the Supreme Court insofar as the interpretation of the calendar days. So medyo nagkaroon po ng issue dyan dahil dalawa po yung magkaibang desisyon ng Supreme Court na kung saan binago po nila yung determination ng calendar days. Doon po sa unang desisyon ng Korte Suprema, sinasabi po nila, dapat wala pong impeachment complaint until February 6 onwards. Pero dito po sa latest decision po ng Korte Suprema, parang sinasabi, dahil po sa bagong definition na ginawa po nila sa session days ng House, umiksi po, naging January 15. Pero since ito po yung nilabas nila, yung decision nila nung January 28, so lumalabas po, nung January 28 pa lamang, po pwede nang mag-file ng impeachment complaint.
So for you, Kong Joel, ano po ba dapat gawin in this situation? Because Kong Terry Ridon already floated the idea of waiting na lang until February 6 before daw to i-refer. I'm not sure if this is to the Speaker, to the plenary, or sa Justice Committee na mismo. But won't this raise constitutional debates once again? Baka ang complain naman ng delay in referral. Should the House wait for February 6?
Well, the best way to reconcile the first decision of the Supreme Court and the second decision of the Supreme Court is to count the 10 session days. So, hindi pa naman naglalapse yung 10 session days eh. So, siguro
So,
sa
either way,
February
safe naman.
23 pa yata. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, sa February 23 pa maglalapse yung 10 session days following the latest Supreme Court decision. So, if that is the case, so it will not be affected. Po pwede naman within that period from February 9 to February 23, saka lang ito i-refer, ilagay po sa order of business.
Okay, so in other words, safe pa rin naman po based on
Safe pa
the
naman.
new...
Wala pa, may
Oo.
oras pa naman.
Okay. Okay, so let's go now to the merits of these impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte. I know they're not officially lodged yet before the Justice Committee, pero nabanggit yun naman na Kong Joel, na nung yung impeachment complaint that you filed last year contains solid grounds, it's based on solid grounds. May mga authentic records to prove the allegations, notices of disallowance from COA. But one thing that was added by some of the complainants was the testimony of Ramil Madriaga. Iyon po ba ay counted as an authentic record?
Well, kung may affidavit po na i-attach po dito, that is authentic record. But for now, I still do not know kung ano po yung content ng impeachment complaint nila. I do not know if they will adopt the articles of impeachment that we filed last year, or they have their new set of grounds for in the impeachment complaint. So, hindi ko pa po alam kung ano po yung nilalaman
Pareho daw, Kong. As far as the complainants revealed to media, pareho pa rin. It's bribery, graft and corruption, betrayal of public trust. Nandyan pa rin yung mga allegations ng misuse of confidential funds. So, just basing it on that, do you think mas solid itong impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte?
Well, yung last year na, solid na Kung madadagdagan pa uli ngayon ng another statement, yung ni Madriaga, with, of course, kailangan may attachment po yan ng affidavit. So, titingnan po natin kung ano po yung sasabihin ni Madriaga.
Pero Congressman, can the public expect the same scrutiny and appreciation of facts from the Justice Committee that you conducted in assessing the impeachment of President Bongbong Marcos?
Of course, lahat po ng impeachment complaint, not only the President, the Vice President, even yung mga susunod po ng mga impeachment complaint, gano'n na po yung magiging parameters ng Committee on Justice.
And are there any indications? May nakikita po ba kayong posibilidad na gamitin yung express route na tinatawag, yung filing an impeachment complaint via one-third vote in the House?
Well, yun po yung naging issue noong nakaraan, but for now, tingin ko mas maganda kung if we will choose the first mode, which is yung referral to the Committee on Justice, so that we can exhaustively deliberate on the impeachment complaint para at least po wala na pong butas na makita po.
Pero so far, wala naman po kayong naririnig over at the House of Representatives sa mga ganyang usapan, Kong Joel.
Wala pa po Ako, I would not suggest na gano'n na maging sitwasyon dahil may maraming gray area dito po sa latest Supreme Court decision which of course some of us or most of us do not agree.
Finally, Kong, kailan po ba tatalakayin or when can we expect the tackling of the impeachment of Vice President Sara, and what should the public watch out for during this entire process?
Well, we have yet to receive the referral from the plenary to the Committee on Justice. So right now, I do not know yet the timeline. So when the committee hearing will be set by the chairman of the Committee on Justice. But we can assure the public that this will be done, this will be discussed publicly. So lahat po ng media ay open for you to scrutinize, to witness kung paano po namin ito i-discuss in the same manner how we conducted the committee hearing of the impeachment complaint of the President.
All right. Well, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was Congressman Joel Chua, Manila 3rd District Representative and a member of the House Justice Panel Committee. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you rin po. Maraming salamat po.
And up next, Congressman Kiko Bazaga is headed back to suspension after an overwhelming majority of the House voted to penalize the Cavite-Solon anew. All that and more when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here. Good morning and welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, or CICC, has issued a warning about the growing threat of AI-driven love scams in the Philippines. CICC Executive Director Undersecretary Aboy Paraiso said scammers are increasingly using artificial intelligence to craft fake identities, run automated conversations, and stage interactions preying on victims' emotions before extorting money. Agency data shows more than 1,000 Filipinos fell victim to love scams last year, with 15 new cases already reported in January 2026. Authorities urge the public to remain vigilant and to report suspicious activity through the National Anti-Scam Hotline 1326. And to talk more about these love scams, we are now joined by CICC Executive Director Undersecretary Aboy Paraiso. Good morning, Yusek. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Kuling. Thanks for having me again on your program. Happy advanced Valentine's.
Oo, love month na talaga, Yusek, ano? But first, congratulations on your new post now as a chief and now the executive director of the CICC. Okay, so you're getting on the ground, running. Let's start with these love scams. Usually, Yusek, pag naririnig natin tong mga scam ng AI, no, it's their bots, phishing links, yung mga fake messages, OTPs. But now, they've evolved into love scams. Tell us more about that. How exactly are they doing this?
So when you talk about love scams and the use of AI, it's twofold. First, they use the AI technology right now to profile the victims. So all our data that's out there is being analyzed and they profile us. So pag nakita mo yung mga love scams ngayon, medyo targeted na. So they know your name, your likes, your dislikes. So parang pag yung lumalapit sa'yo, sobrang perfect na ng tao. Diba? So that's one. And then the second part of the use of the AI technology is when committing the love scam itself. Before, we always tell people that mag-video call kayo to make sure it's a real person. Now, it's not the case. Even if you do video calls, the AI generation or the AI images and AI videos are real-time now. So you might be talking or you might be video calling someone, but it's not the real person. It's more of an, if I describe it, it's the filter on steroids when it comes to AI-driven technology.
So it's gotten more and more sophisticated. But where do they get this data and how exactly do they reach their victims, Yusek?
Well, again, there's a lot of data out there because nga, di ba yung mga, una-una, because of the hacks that happened before, so yung mga personal data natin are out there talaga. But second, I think the problem really is, or not the problem, I think the nuance with Filipinos is masyado tayong oversharing. All our emotions, all spectrums of it are online. Pag malungkot ka, you post it. If you're searching, you post it. And even, minsan nga, even bago ako kumain, pinupost mo yung, pinupost ng mga kasama ko yung mga picture pa yung food, di ba? So that's a particular nuance of the Filipinos that makes us vulnerable really to, profiling.
Well, Scam Watch PH did say scammers are targeting vulnerability and not ignorance, why is that an important distinction for the public to understand? Kasi nabanggit mo na nga rin, Yusek, we share too much of our lives online and these apparently are what scammers are targeting, people who are so vulnerable. Yung alam nilang baka lonely to, naghahanap ng kausap. So it's not... they're targeting, even if you're tech savvy, pwede ring mabiktima ka neto dahil vulnerable ka.
Yun nga yung sasabi natin, Colleen, parang once the heart talks, the mind doesn't listen already. Minsan pag, even if even if the red flags are there, our hearts, our emotions take over and, we try to ignore it. So talagang yun yung pinoprofile sa atin who are the most emotionally vulnerable. And, they don't even care if you're, kasi parati naman tayo, binobombard na natin mga kababayan natin about the red flags, about these scams, and educating them. But sometimes, again, they target yung who's emotionally vulnerable because even if they're aware, they ignore it. So that's the important distinction of it.
Well, I think it's still very important to educate the public. And I know that's part of your anti-love scam awareness campaign. And earlier we showed the profiles, the typical love scam profiles. There are 6. If we could show that again. So meron yung sad boy, meron din yung slow burn. Yusek, naku, ano ba itong mga terms na to? But which among these profiles would you say poses the biggest risk or threat?
I think the biggest threat talaga is the slow burn because it does not only target yung physical, yung financial damage mo, yung financial losses mo, but because of the slow burn, you invest emotionally. So ito yung tinatsaga ka, yung talaga naliligaw sa'yo. Tapos when you hear victim stories, it's not that they care about the losses they made, but the actual emotional damage that it caused them. That nawawala yung trust, nawawala yung hope of finding their just because nabiktima sila and because the emotions were real and the emotional investment was real. And yun yung nagiging damage sa kanila. They don't even care about yung nawalang pera sa kanila.
And what's really surprising here at the end of the day, Yusek, no, is AI yung kausap nila, hindi man lang yung totoong tao na scammer. This is all artificial intelligence. It's just generated based on their responses. But again, how do they reach out to their victims? Are these through messaging apps, online profiles, social media platforms?
So most of the victims really yung talaga naghahanap and those who are really victimized, kadalasan sa kanila nanggagaling doon sa mga dating apps, tapos sa mga social media platforms natin, and then they transfer it doon sa mga messaging apps natin. So, for example, mag-post, tapos sasabihin na, let's transfer, doon tayo mag-usap sa, I think number one is Telegram. Doon tayo mag-usap sa Telegram. Because with Telegram kasi you can create a profile without having to input your number. So, mahirap makilala kung sino talaga.
And there's a way to make it not look so artificial, right, Yusek? Kaya siguro mas nabibiktima ang mga tao kasi yung mga pictures ngayon, it's hard to tell kung totoo ba talaga sila. Minsan, napaka-realistic ng mga photo, hindi masyadong, sabihin na natin, hindi masyadong pogi, ganyan. Pero maniniwala ka na, di ba, parang totoong tao to, posible itong maging lover mo. But one of the most surprising findings is that the largest victim group is aged 18 to 29. So that's a relatively young group, Yusek.
Yeah, that's kasi parang they're trying to explore pa what yung mga ignorant pa doon sa love. Even though, do you remember our conversation earlier na even though you're tech savvy, minsan yun yung nagiging downfall mo, yung pagiging techie mo, you're always around social media, you're looking for relevance, tapos yun, maghahanap ka ng parang partner that would fit your interest. So doon ka nabibiktima talaga. But again, specific scams for specific age group. For example, itong age group na to, vulnerable to the seductor scam kasi ito yung sobrang parang kala mo influencer din, kala mo sikat na tao din, try to mimic someone who's famous. So yun yung nagiging attraction ng mga kabataan natin.
And how do they usually ask for money, Yusek, so that I guess our viewers can also be more aware? Pag sila na ay sinascam, ano yung typical lines na sinasabi nila?
Yep. So the typical lines would be, for example, sad emergencies yan. Kaya sad boy, lahat na ng trahedya nangyari na sa buhay niyan, Tulin. So pagdating naman sa seductress, ito yung medyo delikado because with these kinds of scammers, they ask for compromising photos of you. Kasi they'll send one to you, tapos sabihin, they'll ask you to reciprocate. Or magpadala ka rin. Yun sa kanila, fake yung sa inyo real. Tapos they'll use it to blackmail you. So, iba naman yung mga servicemen na scams, yung kailangan ko ng pera to release, to pay my lawyers, to release my pension. Yung mga escort, straightforward yan. Hingi sa'yo ng pera to send compromising or explicit photos or videos of them. So, iba-iba rin yung mga scams. Iba-iba yung mga ways para mingi ng pera.
And do you see both men and women getting affected by these love scams?
Well, men, yes, when it comes to the seductress, and the escort women, when it comes talaga sa emotional, yung slow burn, tsaka yung mga servicemen scams.
Okay, so from the get-go, what are some of the tips siguro na we can give the public, Yusek, to know early on kung sila ba ay sinascam na ng AI through these love scam schemes? Like
I said earlier, parang it's difficult now na video call. we have to go back to the time na yung human interaction talaga would be the primary source of your trust or your primary source no para pagkatiwalaan mo yung tao na yan. So one of the ways that we can detect is if they refuse or they make excuses to meet in person. So I think that should be the first conversation yun. Yung magkita tayo in person, mga ganon. Second, if masyadong mabilis, the pace is really, really fast. Yung parang I know if this happens to you, Kulin, pero yung iba kasi, yung mga scammers, isang araw pa lang, nag-I love you na. Mga ganon, di ba? Tapos yung number three, parang time-bound yung mga demands. Sinasabi na, yung iba, parang, if you don't send this, I'll move on to the next person. Or sasabihin nila, or for example, for military man, if you don't release if you don't give the money to release my funds, mawawala na yung funds. So parang pinipressure ka. There's that, the pressure is there. And I think lastly is, if it involves finances na, it's a red flag na talaga. Love shouldn't come at a cost.
Ayan. So pag nag-I love you agad ng isang araw pa lang, red flag na yan, Yusek.
Yes.
Okay, but let's go to the data. In 2025 alone, more than 20 million pesos was already recovered because victims reported early. Would you consider 20 million pesos a significant amount, and how were these funds recovered?
Not at all, because I know personally, parang this universe is just a fraction of what's the total number of scams. Kasi ang problema rin with that, and I think this is yung ina-exploit din ng mga scammers is yung mga tao, especially Filipinos, nahihiya sila mag-report, nahihiya sila naging biktima sila ng scams, so hindi na sila nagre-report. So I think it's just but a fraction of what's the total universe ng scams sa kanila. So for me, talagang I think the biggest win right now is to get people to report, not only kung nabiktima sila, but before, even if they were inattempt pa lang sila mabiktima, mag-report na so we can do our interventions, i-block the numbers, block the accounts, take down the accounts that they use. So we're hoping to be better when it comes to both the trust and pag-report sa kababayan natin and the amount na ma-save natin from the scammers.
And how fast does a victim need to act, Yusek, para may chance pang mabawi yung pera nila?
Well, typically, when I talk to the BSP, sasabi nila, kasi ang nangyayari with love scams, hindi talaga mabawi because talagang yung tao mismo yung nagsasabi na i-transfer or talagang sila yung nag-authorize ng transaction. Pero in cases na kaya pang, halimbawa, na realize nila, it's usually a matter of hours daw talaga sabi ng BSP. If you can realize kaagad, you report it kaagad to the bank, as long as the bank can still stop the transaction, that's the time makakasave ka. Pero yung number na nakikita mo puli na na-save natin is more of prevention yan na hindi sila nakapag-transfer. Kasi, again, when we say nakapag-transfer na, kasi tayo mismo nag-authorize ng transaction. So, mahirap na bawiin yan.
Oo nga, no, Yusek, as you pointed out, baka may nuances dyan because they authorize the transactions, nilagay nila yung OTP, hindi na siya scam talaga na, where you didn't know. But the public can call 1326 to report any of the suspicious activities. Pero paano po yan, Yusek? Because tama po ba na most of love scammers operate from abroad? So, I'm sure that poses challenges for you in terms of going after them and prosecuting them.
This is the biggest challenge talaga, and most of the love scams are perpetrated by huge scam hubs abroad. Meron tayong nakikita yung mga independents, yung mga especially in the escort scam, tsaka yung seductress scam, nakikita natin yan. But again, as you pointed out, malaking challenge sa amin yung pagdating sa scam hubs abroad, but we do what we can, and we encourage people to report talaga para naman kahit hindi namin mahuli yung perpetrators, we can do our interventions. We take away the numbers that they use to scam people, we take away the accounts, diba? We report it to the platforms para i-take down din yung mga accounts na yan.
Okay, so nabanggit mo nga, Yusek, it is a happy advanced Valentine's sa ating lahat, sa mga Pilipino. Finally, I guess, what's your message for the public who are looking for love online, lalo na ngayong panahon o buwan ng pag-ibig?
At siguro sa mga kababayan natin na naghahanap pa rin ng pag-ibig online, it's important to know that we should always go back to, we shouldn't manufacture feelings. You should feel those feelings through human interactions and hindi lang yung mga kung ano yung gusto na ipakita sa inyo. Kasi kilala ng mga scammers, pabiktima nila. So, again, try it na parang meet in person and, siguro adopt a zero trust policy when it comes to the internet kasi most of what we see right now, hindi ba natin alam kung ano yung totoo, ano yung hindi totoo eh. Whether it's love, whether it's news, lahat na parang compromise na.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. That was CICC Executive Director Undersecretary Aboy Paraiso.
Thank you. Good morning.
Don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss right after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Now on to the weather. Tropical storm Bashang has maintained its strength. And for more details, we're joined by Pag-asa weather specialist Glyza Esculiar, who is now on the line. Glyza, ano na bang latest dito kay Bashang?
Magandang umaga sa iyo, Pauline. At para sa laki ng ating panahon, ang Tropical Storm Bashang ay huling namataan po natin alas 7 ng umaga, 385 kilometers. East ng Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur. Taglay po nito ang lakas na hangin na 65 kilometers per hour malapit sa gitna at bugso ng hangin naman na aabot hanggang 80 kilometers per hour. Ito po ay kasalukuyang kumikilos pakanluran, timog kanluran sa bilis na 20 kilometers per hour. Sa ngayon po nakataas ang Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 2 dito po sa Surigao del Norte kasama ang Siargao, Bukas Grande Islands, Surigao del Sur, extreme northern portion ng Davao Oriental, Agusan del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Misamis Oriental, northern portion ng Bukidnon at northeastern portion ng Lanao del Norte, maging dito po sa northeastern portion ng Misamis Occidental at sa Camiguin. Asahan po sa mga lugar na nabanggit ang masungit na panahon na may kasamang mga pag-ulan. Samantala, Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 1 naman po sa southern portion ng Eastern Samar, sa southern portion ng Samar, Biliran, Leyte, Southern Leyte, Bohol, Cebu, Siquijor, Negros Oriental, Negros Occidental, Guimaras, Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, Antique, Dinagat Islands, northern at central portions ng Davao Oriental, Davao de Oro, Davao del Norte, northern portion ng Davao del Sur, nalalabing bahagi ng Bukidnon, northern portion ng Cotabato, Lanao del Sur, northern portion ng Maguindanao del Norte, Nalalabing bahagi ng Lanao del Norte, nalalabing bahagi ng Misamis Occidental, eastern at central portions ng Zamboanga del Norte, northern at central portions ng Zamboanga del Sur, at sa northern portion ng Zamboanga Sibugay. Sa nabanggit kong mga lugar, asahan naman po ang panakanakang mga pag-ulan na may kasama pong pagbugso ng hangin. Samantala, inaasahan po na magla-landfall ang bagyong ito dito po sa may bahagi po ng Surigao del Sur, mamaya pong gabi hanggang bukas ng madaling araw. At after po nitong mag-cross sa Mindanao, ay patungan naman po ito ng Bohol Sea o Central Visayas area at maaari pong lumapit o mag-landfall sa Siquijor at sa southern portion ng Negros Oriental bukas po yan ng tanghali. At yan po ang latest mula dito sa Weather Forecasting Center ng Pag-asa. Ito si Glyza Esculiar, nag-uulat.
Alright, maraming salamat para sa update na yan. That was Pag-asa Weather Specialist Glyza Esculiar. Now in other news, House lawmakers voted to suspend again Cavite Congressman Kiko Barzaga, who just returned to work yesterday. He will not be receiving salary or benefits for the next 60 days. 238 congressmen voted in favor of the Ethics Committee's recommendation to suspend Barzaga anew due to his, quote, repeated escalating misconduct while on his first suspension. 10 lawmakers voted against, while 9 abstained. In a statement, Barzaga said he is okay with the House expelling him altogether as long as his colleagues resolve the cost of living issues besetting Filipinos. ACT-CIS Party List Representative Ed Vic Yap has resigned from the House of Representatives. Yap stepped down months after the Office of the Ombudsman identified him as a person of interest in the multi-billion peso flood control corruption scandal, involving alleged bank transfers from contractor couple Curly and Sara Discaya. Ed Vic Yap is the brother of Benguet Representative Eric Yap, who has also been linked to the controversy. In December, the Court of Appeals ordered the freezing of the Yap brothers' bank accounts and assets. Meantime, House Majority Leader Representative Sandro Marcos has filed a bill seeking to abolish travel tax. Marcos said the tax has become a burden to Filipinos who need to travel for business or who want to go on a vacation. The travel tax currently charges 2,700 pesos for first-class passengers and 1,620 pesos for economy-class passengers, with discounts available for dependents and seniors. Only overseas Filipino workers are exempt from the fee. Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco, however, expressed reservations about the proposed bill.
If we deprive fund for tourism infrastructure, which comes from travel taxes, then we will not have any hope of improvement as far as tourism infra is concerned. We then leave it to the wisdom of both houses of Congress as to whether or not they will continue the travel tax.
Well, meanwhile, Frasco has ordered a halt to the production of DOT materials bearing her image. She also instructed tourism offices and local government units to remove existing materials. In a recent Senate hearing, Senator Raffy Tulfo questioned why Frasco on why her photo frequently appears in DOT campaign materials.
I've actually already issued an order to our regional offices that, as far as we are concerned in the DOT, to, number one, take down any material that may bear my image. Number two, to not produce any material that may bear my image. And number three, if we could request our LGUs just so to take this issue of such small importance out as a distraction.
And before we go, here's the latest in sports. The 2026 PVL All-Filipino Conference continues with a full slate of exciting matches today. At 4 p.m., the Chocomucho Flying Titans clash with the Signal Super Spikers in a highly anticipated showdown, with both teams undefeated from their opening weekend sweeps. The main event at 6:30 p.m. features the Creamline Cool Smashers taking on the PLDT High Speed Hitters, marking their first conference appearance for both squads. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, We are One News, all sides, all the time.